What's up, traders? This video is going to be a script release. From time to time, whenever I talk to some traders and either they have a certain indicator they're using, or say I'm developing an indicator that I want to use, I will put together a script in TradingView, and most of the time I just release it to the public. This is one that was designed to help one of my social media users that's been very active and asking me questions. I'm indicator agnostic. Really, if people want to go down a certain path, if they want to trade a certain way, I like to share what I know about whatever indicator they're interested in. And I like Bollinger Bands as one of these types of indicators. And so, what this trader did, I'll jump right into it, is make a mistake in using a Bollinger Band squeeze strategy. Now, the basics of a Bollinger Band, and I'll go through this very quickly for those that know, is it measures a standard deviation away from what's usually a simple moving average. In other words, how far has price typically gone away from the mean? And it creates this band along price. And if you'll notice, in retrospect, it tends to stay within that band pretty well. But what happens when you have a situation like this right here, and by the way, we're looking at Microsoft because this is the example that this user got into, is when price begins to move a lot, that band, that Bollinger Band expands. But then when price begins to really start to contract, like you see this consolidation period right here, then the Bollinger Band width begins to contract. And you can actually go through TradingView and see this by looking for Bollinger. Oh, that's the end of the day. Looking for Bollinger Bands. So you can Bollinger Bands Width. So this is actually a default indicator in TradingView. And so we can see how as price was expanding, the Bollinger Band, the width of it was going up, up, up. But then it comes back and it contracts right here. So we can see it going up and down. Well, what this trader did, and this is the mistake that they made, was they incorrectly assumed that when price was starting to consolidate here and the bandwidth was contracting here was a sign of a contraction. They did it again, went long when they saw it contract here again. Now, yes, the Bollinger Band was contracting, but was it significant? Well, that's the question. And in this case right here, in hindsight, of course, it wasn't. And so this trader made a mistake thinking that, well, we have a little bit of a squeeze, but it wasn't significant in the long run. So what I did was this. I took this Bollinger Band width and I added my own little metric to it. What we're going to do is we're going to measure it based upon what it's done over the last 200 bars. And so if I add that to the chart right here, what you're going to see is when it got down to this level right here, in other words, these two blue lines on the top of the Bollinger Band width are measuring the last 200 bars worth of this bandwidth. So it's an indicator on top of the indicator. It's called a Donchian. And so whenever it made a new low, in other words, whenever this bandwidth got to its most contracted point in the last 200 bars, it triggered off that little highlighting right there, which also, by the way, I put into the script that I'm releasing an alert condition. So you can actually alert for that. So whenever you have a contraction, you can tell it in TradingView to send you an alert. And so if we look at this here, when we had this contraction, if we had gotten that alert, we would have known that here was actually a very significant squeeze in the Bollinger Band width. We actually had a meaningful contraction of the Bollinger Band, which price did explode out of it. Now, if you want to know more about trading Bollinger Band squeezes, Google's going to be your friend. We're going to keep this video just for explaining this particular indicator. But it's a good strategy. I like it. I don't think you can use it in isolation, but it's something that you should look at and maybe add to your trading toolbox. As another quick example, because we love looking at examples where it does work, let's take a look at Bitcoin last year. We love looking at that, don't we? And this is on a longer time scale. So where did Bitcoin break out? Well, Bitcoin began breaking out in the summer of last year. And if we zoom into this particular section right here, we had a few times where it alerted us here. But if we notice, price never actually got above the Bollinger Band at this point. So we wouldn't have gotten into it long there. So we have a little filter built into it within the Bollinger Band. Again, we had a contraction here, didn't quite get above it. But on this contraction, if you see it, it's really getting tight right here, right there at that last contraction here. This is where we want to be looking. And of course, we could have gotten alerted to this as well. And from that point onward, Bitcoin just took off. So it's actually a very, very good strategy to look for when things are getting really boring in an instrument, when they're beginning to squeeze. And of course, this hasn't fired off another indication, at least not on the daily time frame, since then. So you can use that on the longer time frame, or you can use it on shorter time frames, day trading, etc. That's the beauty of using Bollinger Bands, because it's measuring standard deviations on the time frame that you're currently looking at. So it's time frame independent. If you want to find that indicator, do a search for it under scripts. You can also go to my profile by clicking on my, I don't think it's going to let me. Okay, go to my profile and look under my scripts. You should be able to see it there and should be able to add it to your favorites, and it should go on your charts. And if you like these videos, please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm not charging anybody for this stuff, but I just want to get this information out to people so that it can help them become better traders. So trade wisely. We'll see you guys in the next video.